Let's start talking football. And I got to talk quarterbacks with the quarterback because you obviously have so much experience at having to play, but also at watching somebody sit. The great debate right now with all the young quarterbacks. Should they play right away? Should they sit? If you were running an organization, what would you do with the young quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is there's not one size fits all, right? These situations are all so different. I think you have to try to look at all the variables. I think at the heart of this, though, as an organization, when you go select a quarterback with an early pick, you want to do everything in your power that when that player steps foot on the field, that they have the best chance of success. And right, and it's not only where they're at in their journey and their maturity, right? How much have they played? How much experience do they have? What kind of system are they going to be running? But then it's the pieces around them, right? Not just the other 10 guys in the huddle, but certainly from an offense, defense, special teams, right? Like you want them to go take the field and have the best chance of success. And too many times, I think organizations don't have a plan. They just throw a kid out there and cross their fingers and hope they do well. And I don't believe that the only way to develop a quarterback is this trial by fire, right? You don't just have to send them out there and hope they struggle their way through to success. It is, listen, I lived it. You can go out and develop bad habits. You can go out and your confidence can be stolen from you. And it doesn't have to be that way. So again, I don't think there's a one size fits all, but I do think, listen, there's examples of both, right? Like in the last 2 years, we've seen arguably the greatest rookie quarterback seasons of all time in C.J. Stroud and now Jaden Daniels. But at the same time, listen, Patrick Mahomes didn't play his rookie year, right? Aaron Rodgers didn't play for several years. Jordan Love now didn't play for several years. There's a lot of examples of the other way as well. I think, though, I would just encourage organizations to have a plan and then also some patience. Certainly what we're lacking here as of late when you look at Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson and these guys that have been through a lot of dysfunction so far early in their career, and then obviously a pretty short leash.
Now, stick with Anthony Richardson for a second, because this one's interesting to me. We all know coming out of college that the thing he didn't have was a lot of time on task, right? Like he needed to be on the field. Then he gets on the field and it doesn't look good, and now the team's a little ahead. So all of a sudden they sit Anthony Richardson. Maybe that's better for the locker room. I hear all of that. But when you have a quarterback that specifically was drafted without time on task, how can you develop him if he's not getting on the field?
You can develop a quarterback without him playing. I firmly would push back on that. Listen, he had played 13 games in college, right? He was 20 years old. He was so young. He had such a bright future. I really look back at last year and don't think he needed to go out there and play right away. He played 4 games. All of a sudden, he takes some big hits and he hurts his shoulder and he's out for the year, right? There was nothing really productive about that. This is a guy that I think would have really benefited from being around a veteran quarterback that and understanding what it looks like to have a front row seat to see a guy prepare week in and week out to go out and play the little things that it takes to play quarterback in the NFL. I think that's what you're seeing this year is a bit of a reset with them, right? Hey, maybe sit down. Here's Joe Flacco, a pretty veteran savvy guy, to get to go see him play and do it a different way. And hopefully Anthony Richardson can kind of continue to keep working on his game and the fundamentals, obviously on the practice field, and then get to see, Joe play and stay ready so that when the next opportunity comes, he can go out there and obviously show some progression.
It's funny you mentioned that because I've spent years, whether it was at ESPN before and now at Yahoo, referencing you because Mahomes talked so much about the fact that a big piece of his development was you helping show him how to do that. But not every quarterback is natured to do that. How difficult is it when you're at that spot in your career to focus on developing somebody else when you know you're essentially developing someone to take your job?
Yeah, listen, I think that's where a little bit, I wasn't necessarily focused on developing Patrick. I was trying to play the best football I could play. And at that point, I was going into year 13, and certainly I think I had really honed in my preparation and mindset towards playing football and playing quarterback at a high level, at a winning level. And listen, Patrick got a front row seat of that, right? Like the quarterback room in Kansas City, you do everything together. You watch film together, you eat together, you train together, you practice together, right? It's all done as a group. And so he got to see that, and he got to take the things that he liked, right? And he could adopt them, the things that worked for him and for his career. And I wasn't whispering anything. I was just being a good teammate and again trying to do my best to play winning football. And I think that's what really mentorship is about. It's a shared respect, but really it's just being a good teammate. And again, me going about and doing my job, and Patrick got a front row seat of it. And I think obviously there was a plan there. right? We go back to this. Andy Reid had a plan and was certainly at the top of this, and it's obviously gone on to unbelievable success, multiple Super Bowls, and obviously the Chiefs and a chance to three-peat, and Patrick arguably going down as one of the greatest of all time.
Speaking of unbelievable success, last night we saw unbelievable success from Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar has taken even a bigger step forward this year in the eyes of many for a two-time MVP. What do you see from Lamar and sort of his growth as a quarterback?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I think he's set the bar pretty high for quarterback plays, won 2 MVPs, and I would argue that I think this year he's playing the best quarterback of his career. He's the best football I've seen from him. He is on top of his game. He is so incredibly dialed in. You can only kind of hope to slow him down, and we saw that last night, right? They had some success early against him, but man, you can't do it over 4 quarters. He'll just get you. He has so many tools, and again, I think seems so dialed in. So I'm anxious to see what the end of this year looks like. I think they're going to be right there and have something to say. And again, a lot of it having to do with him and his play.